Hi, to everyone. I'm excited to be here. And thank you so much, Professor Snipes, for inviting me. I count it as a fortunate, a blessing, and a treasure to count you as one of my friends, my colleagues. I love the work that you've done in entrepreneurship, the work that you have done on mindfulness and entrepreneurship. I believe is outstanding and groundbreaking. And I've said that in many places before. I am truly grateful to be working on the stage with Saint Hung and David Steiner, who are two entrepreneurs I'm getting excited about talking to and hearing more about their ventures and how they are pivoting in this world of COVID-19 and post-COVID-19. And so, Saint, I see you are here. Can you tell us just a little bit about your venture and your journey from BMCC to your leadership in the entrepreneurial space?
Wow. Hi, Joanne. Thanks for having me. It's been a pretty long journey. I started in corporate America in '96, and I felt that, it was chipping away at my soul and at my integrity. And around about 2003, I took the step to resign from a pretty stable position at JP Morgan. And I decided to both go to school at night and run my own private business during the day. And BMCC was where I chose to start because I think the slogan when I was attending was "Start here, go anywhere," and hopefully I can be an example of that. I left the big bank world, because I felt that they were too focused on shareholder returns. They were too focused on simply numbers. And when I was working in my position at Chase, they were focused just on, hey, the customers with the 7, 8, 9-figure bank accounts, we want to focus on those people. Everybody else, they assigned them little numbers and they said, you know what, these people, they're not important. We don't want to answer these phone calls. They can come in, they can deposit checks, and then they need to move on. And I felt that was extremely unfair and inequitable. So when I resigned, I set out to start something new, start something that focused on small businesses, start something that focused on women-owned businesses and minority businesses. And that's when I started Universal Processing. And that was '03. It's 2020 now. It's been a good 17 plus years. And we've been fortunate to be one of the leaders in our space, especially for minority businesses. It's been a grueling battle, ups and downs, but I'm fortunate to say we've got tens of thousands of businesses under our client portfolio, and we have a couple billion under management, and we're continuing to grow from there.
Wow. So for some of the young student entrepreneurs who are looking at the space and say, well, you were at JP Morgan, you had all of this, you had all of that. Mm-hmm. How can you encourage them to start from just where they are? I heard that you went to night school, but some of the students, just give them a little bit of encouragement of how they could use whatever they have to get where they need to go in entrepreneurship.
Well, I think it just comes from within. If you're really passionate about what you believe in, and if you have a vision, I tell everybody that I talk to, if you're going to run a business, never think about the money, because the money doesn't matter. The money needs to be a byproduct of you fulfilling your vision. If you really are passionate about what you do, other people will see it. If you work hard, work diligently, and I mean, especially if you utilize the resources around you. I'm here because I couldn't have gotten to where I am without the help of my colleagues, the faculty, the professors at BMCC. I reached out to every single business professor I had. We maintained contact for many, many years. Some of them we still check in with one another, and that's really important. Utilize your network. Gain information from them, because having a one-to-one relationship is so much more valuable than just sitting in a class of 30 to 50, sometimes 100, 150 people. I remember some of the class sizes being really large at BMCC, but if you find a professor that says something that resonates with you, really go connect, try to tug on their ear a little bit and get as much time as you can.
Wow. So you encourage the students to reach out, to use all of their resources, to reach out to their faculty, their colleagues, their peers, and to ask for help when they need help, or ask for help even if they don't need help, to build that network. That's wonderful. Something you said earlier that really struck me, Saint, it was like you said, in the corporate world, or at least in that particular example,
Yep.
They wanted you to focus on the high rollers, and you felt you wanted to focus on everybody. What a wonderful spirit. Tell us a little bit more about how that helped you in your business differentiate yourself from the rest who were just out there running behind the dollar.
I think every business obviously likes to pursue the sizable clients, the clients that provide large revenue. But if you believe in everybody you talk to and you believe in relationships, I mean, relationships matter. These businesses that start out from nothing, just an idea, if you support them, if you give them the tools, if you give them the financial support, if you coach them, if you take their phone calls and solve all their problems, they will grow. You just need to listen to the business owners and solve their issues. I was in an environment where if certain people did not speak English properly, they got transferred to, a robo call system, and they never were able to find the answers they were looking for. We said, you know what, if we're going to do this, we need to answer everybody's phone call live. We need to answer it in the language that they speak, especially for the immigrant and minority business owners. And we need to give them all the tools to propel them to move forward. I mean, if I may, just recently, this COVID situation, all across New York, I had diners, delis, restaurants, bar owners. They were like, Saint, what can you do for us? They literally call me on my cell phone, Saint, we're in the weeds here. What can you do for us? I'm afraid our electricity might go out or something might happen. I mean, there's fear all over the place. I was like, don't worry, we'll get you mobile processing. Normally they've got these point of sale systems. We give them processing on their phones. So as long as your phone's working, your business is online. You can accept payments. Oh, well, we're normally a diner, but we have a liquor license. How do we stay in business? I've got a business plan to do this, to do that. Street deliveries, street liquor sales, liquor deliveries. And I said, hey, Mr. Business Owner, I'll do everything I can to give you the technology. Not only that, they said, we saw your social media, we saw your charitable contributions. Can you give us some masks? And we sent out cases and cases of N95 masks to our business owners. Obviously, we took care of the healthcare workers, but restaurants, delis, diners, bar owners, they're essential as well. They're providing the food supply to us, so we wanted to keep them and all of their staff healthy and safe and protected as well. Hope I answered the question.
Oh, yeah, you answered many questions. Listen, and I got so many more. So I heard in your answer that some of the businesses, when COVID-19 hit, they understood that they couldn't operate business as usual. And I heard the creativity and the technology coming together to make a solution for those businesses to stay in business. So for these young entrepreneurs who are listening, how can you encourage them to learn how to pivot faster so that they can sustain? Because that's part of the theme, sustainability and equity. So can you give them a little idea of how they can be more creative and use the technology to sustain a business idea?
Well, I don't think there's much of a secret. I don't want to get into first level college or psychology 101. But I think you can correlate this to Maslow's hierarchy of needs. First, you look within yourself. As long as you're fed, as long as you have a roof over your head, you're good. Then you look to your family, as long as your family's good. Settle everything around you. Gather yourself, because we're all human, we're all vulnerable, we're all susceptible to weakness, we're all susceptible to fear. Get all that out of the way. Make sure that you reach out to your loved ones. Make sure that you're loved as well. And look at yourself in the mirror. I look at myself in the mirror all the time, during these days especially, because there's no challenging time like this. I was there for 9/11, and this is probably 10 times bigger than 9/11. So, look within yourself, get to the point of, I think, past self-esteem to self-actualization, and be your best. Once you realize that you're at your best and you can function at your best, sit down, draw it out. Say, what are my problems? I don't know everybody's problems out there, but I'd like to talk to more people afterwards. But my problems were the entire country's shutting down. My electronic banking, my payment processing clients are going from tens of thousands to thousands and going towards zero. What do I do? And, we came up with strategies. We came up with different plans, initiatives. For example, we saw the CARES Act. We saw that as as a lifeboat. We said, you know what? Let's create an entire division within our company to pursue the CARES Act. Not for ourselves, but educate ourselves so we can educate our immigrant, minority, women-owned, LGBTQ business owners, so that they can be on the same level playing field as the big boys. Because as we saw, Shake Shack, Potbelly, Ruth Chris Steakhouse, they were out there. Even the LA Lakers were out there fighting for every man's money, right? So thankfully, we created seminars to help thousands and thousands of business owners. We even had a help desk actually do the applications for the business owners, fill out the applications, get them their financial documents. And we didn't charge anything. We didn't make a dime. We didn't make $1 out of it at all. All we did was we focused on helping the business owners. And hopefully from my mouth to God's ears, some of it'll come back. That's all you can do, to just be your best and find solutions. But first, just get yourself grounded, make sure you're okay, your loved ones are okay, your friends are okay, and then you go out there and you face that cruel world, I guess.
What great advice you gave to these students. A lot of us look externally first, but your guidance to them is start from within, from where you are. Make sure you're okay, your family okay, and then you can work yourself out to the world and help everybody else. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful guidance. And so one of the questions I want them to be able to ask someone who has been to BMCC, someone who has created their business after they left or while they were at BMCC, what is the most important lesson you can share with them? This may be your only shot at the BMCC entrepreneurs. What lesson learned would you like to leave them with? As an entrepreneur, a successful entrepreneur who has gone through the COVID-19 and who's gone through 9/11, and you survived it all. What can you tell them to help them to survive?
Well, one of the quotes that I had read recently and just resonated with me was Albert Einstein saying, "Only a life lived for others is worthwhile." And that really was, before I even read that quote, about 15 years ago, I was a BMCC student, and my business wasn't where it is now, but I said, hey, this school's really teaching me a lot, and the professors are doing a lot for me. What can I do for my school? And what I literally did was I got accepted to the dean's list, and I got a little letter saying that I was, I think, Phi Theta Kappa and dean's list and whatnot. I took the letter with me. At the time, the dean of students was Dean Marva Craig. And I walked into Dean Craig's office, and I said, Dean Craig, now that I'm a great student, I'm getting recognized, I'd love to do something to help out the school. And she was like, great, not many students actually say, hey, what can I do for my school? They put me in so many positive situations. They put me in the mentorship group. They put me in the Phi Theta Kappa. They put me in the disciplinary committee. I was a student ambassador for the school. I served about 8 different panels, and I did everything I could. And just the leadership experience I got from giving, it helped me receive, because I got so much more from just giving my time, giving my willingness to help, giving my friendship and affability, that the school took me to so many places. It took me on the Salzburg seminar in Austria and Germany, where we were doing mock United Nations Millennium Development Goals projects, and just there's so much that the school can do for you. You have to step forward and do something for the school first to really unlock those doors. So that's probably what I tell the students. Do whatever you can for the school. Be active. Give first. Don't expect anything. Don't be entitled. Give as much as you have to give, and then it will come back to you many, many times over.
Outstanding. So for those students who are listening, whether or not you're on the dean's list, engage. Go to your dean's office virtually now, because you can't walk up there, but go to your dean's office, go to the different places, offer your talent, offer yourself. Eventually, the giving will turn back into receiving. And take this great example, State. He is still giving back to BMCC. He is here live, talking with you, telling you about his experience, how he's come along, and how he's made entrepreneurship not only work for him and his family, but he reached back to minorities and women-owned businesses who were not being served in the marketplace. And he found a way to differentiate himself by serving that market and that need. So we go back to finding the need, first searching within yourself, finding the need, and then filling it, and then finding sustainability in a business. So I thank you for sharing that particular piece with them. So let me ask you about a specific business. You say you service many businesses. Is there a case study or an example of a business that you saw who had a hard startup and have come along and have made it, so that we can encourage them, because most businesses have a hard time at launch? The young entrepreneurs should know it's not easy, but just share with them a specific example, if you could, so that it could help them when they start thinking about giving up, not to give up, to remember the example that you came up with.
Sure. There was an example about 16 years ago, right when I was starting up, right in the early startup days of Universal Processing. There was a 1-location spa. The gentleman was part of the LGBTQ community. I won't give names for confidentiality reasons, but LGBTQ community. He was just about to start up his 2nd location, and he had rent paid, and he had the security deposit down, and he just ran into a snag. There were some construction issues. He couldn't get things going, and then he put so much into his 2nd location that it wasn't viable for him to keep going. And he went to his family, he went to his friends. Nobody was able to help him. And at the time, I think he was my client already for a year by then, maybe a year and a half, one of my first clients. And he's like, Saint, you happen to have any way you can help me? You manage my finances. And I mean, guys, I can't do this for everybody these days, but at the time I looked at the ledger, I looked at the profile, and I said, you know what, sir, I've made X thousands of dollars in revenue from your company throughout this time. Let me just loan it back to you at no interest so that you can make payroll for a week or two. And he took it, obviously, because he was looking for anything, a life raft, a lifeboat, a flotation device. And it was enough for him to get it covered. He went from location 2 to location 5 to location 20 nowadays, and he's nationwide. He's one of the most prominent spa and laser removal locations in the country, and I'm very proud to say that he's still my client. I mean, that's an example of relationships mattering. The little things you do. It was a lot. I mean, at the time, it was a lot of money for me because I just gave back one of my first clients' revenues, and I've got costs there, but I just gave it all back to him. He paid me back in 3-4 months, and then he was loyal to me, and I was loyal to him that whole way. So again, relationships matter. Loyalty and integrity are paramount, and you do business with integrity, you can't go wrong.
Awesome. And I'm looking at the chat room, and some of the students are saying that was a wonderful example you gave. And it was a selfless example. It was sharing that, you didn't know how you were going to make it, but you knew if you helped someone else, and that goes back to your theme, help somebody. If you help someone else, eventually it will come back to you. And here you are part of the success story of someone who's been a client for yours since almost the beginning.
Yep.
So I think it has reoccurred over and over with how you got started, what you wanted to do, how you went from the inside out, saying that you weren't happy in the corporations. Now, I'm not bashing corporations. Now, it is okay for some of us, but I am always grateful to the job creators as opposed to the job takers, because you made a livelihood for not just yourself, but for all the employees that work for you, and help businesses make jobs for those others. And so I'm very, very happy. We're almost coming to the end of our time. Mm-hmm. I want you to be able to give the last few words of what you want to tell your fellow BMCC folks. Some of them are graduating, but some of them are still there. I want you to have the last few minutes to give the last word, not based on a question.
Okay, putting me on the spot here. Okay.
Yes.
Well, all I can say is that I went on to a university, Columbia University, after BMCC, and that's all thanks to BMCC. But being at one of those top colleges really didn't make a difference in my life. It was the time that I spent hustling and grinding and just learning at night, working during the day, and making those valuable contacts with other like-minded people that helped me move up. And I can even say that a couple of my key employees in the beginning were BMCC students, and even at times partners were BMCC students. I looked around me, I said, who are my best people? Who are not my best friends, because you don't really want to do business with friends. I think that's Rockefeller's advice, but the best contacts with similar aligned goals. I mean, 17 years later, most of them are not with me, but hey, when we started, we had an idea and we rode together. Nowadays, some of them are at some big banks. I've got one of them who's managing a real estate company. I've got one of them who's managing a development company, like building buildings. Another one is managing a lifestyle publication with over 800 employees in Asia. And it's just great to just find the right people, surround yourself with the best people you know, and especially when you're attending school, that's where the brightest, most innocent, but also the most untapped minds are. So look around you, find the ones that have integrity, and find the ones where you can have deep, thoughtful, thought-provoking conversations with, and latch onto those people, work with them, and by holding each other up, you will all be successful.
Wow, what great advice! And really say, you had a good feeling for those that were around you to help build your business, but you had to pivot and they had to pivot, and that's okay.
Yep.
But you knew that they were a lifetime support system for you, no matter where they were. Some of them are still with you, some of them are not. And so for the students out there, understand that where you start doesn't have to be where you end up with. The people you start don't have to be the people you end up with, but what it matters is that you are able to develop relationships to continue to build on your passions. He started off talking about passions and vision. So this has been a great time. I don't know if anyone else has any questions in the chat room. We are almost at 1 o'clock, which is our time. Yes, Professor Snipes is coming back now.
I was just going to say we did have a couple of questions that I thought were really interesting. They kept flying up on the chat though, so you had to kind of watch them. I was also watching this Q&A section on the upper right side too. So there's like a little Q&A list. A couple of people had questions about, how do I start a tech company?
How do I start a tech company? That's it's a lot easier said than done. I'd advise a strong tech background. I'd advise that you have at least a couple years in the field, and I advise that you have somebody with some very significant management information systems or general IT background if you do not yourself. I personally don't know how to code, but thank God I've got a great CTO and COO, and those people came along with me. But please don't just say, I want to start, I don't know, the next Netflix or the next Apple. Please, for your own good, work in the space for a couple of years. And then when you think you've learned, you'll never learn it all, but when you think you've learned enough to go out there and execute on your plan, your strategy, your vision, that's when you go out there, you find a couple people, you get together, and you go do it.
Excellent. Thanks so much. That was incredible, Saint. You're always a saint when it comes to giving great advice. I had to use that. I know you've never heard that before, right?
No, never. That's the first.
And Joanne, thank you so much for being an amazing moderator. Your energy is phenomenal. You keep us all going. You are forever building us ahead, and I really appreciate your energy over there at Medgar Evers and in CUNY in general. Thank you both so much for being here today.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Shane.
Bye-bye.
So guys, as we transition now to this last session for mentoring, we have a little bit more time to work with. We're going to go until about 1:40 with this next session. So we'll just make sure we have plenty of space to breathe. You'll be set up and blocked up into 2 pieces of time again, just because it's a great way for everyone to look at the top band on the top of the screen up there and see how much time is remaining. I know some of the entrepreneurship students may not be in the room. Those of you guys who are still here, make sure that you go to your assigned table that is in your Slack channel there for your different BMCC. And also I emailed it to you guys as a link this morning and again yesterday. So check that link, make sure you're at the table that you are assigned to. As soon as we switch over to the table mode again. You guys are doing a great job. I'm hearing really good things from the mentors. People are pitching. It's engaging. Stay active, stay engaged. Make sure if you're speaking without your camera that you're talking with a really energetic voice like this. And let's have fun for this last session, okay? I'm going to be on the first floor at table 15 if people have questions. If you're a mentor, check the mentor list. That's in the Slack channel too, or I can share the link to you in private chat for that. Get your votes in on the pre.vc app, and I also have a mentor link for those. Anyone who wants to invest, make sure you get your pre app downloaded. Students are looking for your money, all right? And we're going straight away right now to our